All right, we're here, week 2 of PPL action, 5 good minutes, and we have a very, very special guest once again, the PPL's finest. Patty's Twins has joined PPL Live for 5 good minutes. How you doing there, Patty?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. All right, so you guys are obviously coming off of a huge opening day statement win over the United Players, the Destroyers, putting up a respectable, I believe, 158 to 142. So you guys really flexed a lot of muscle in that season opener. What stood out to you most about what you saw on opening day?
Definitely the Eckler pickup with the 38 points. I wasn't expecting that. It was a great showing. Some of my players came out and they just balled out. Little disappointed from Aaron Rodgers' performance, but I will ride and die with him, as anyone who's been in this league knows. Ride or die with Aaron Rodgers. And Vikings defense also surprised me with 20 points.
A strong 20 points against a formidable offense like Atlanta. It took a lot of guts to start them, and you were able to pull that off. But going deeper into the 2019 season, what's going to be the key for you to get back on top of the Omega Conference? I mean, you're a 2-time Pantheon Cup champion. You've been there. You've done that. You've done it all in the PPL. What's it going to take for you guys to get back to that level? Who's going to have to perform? What do you think is going to have to happen?
It's got to be Aaron Rodgers. The rest of the team's got to perform also, but he's the one that, I mean, I've stuck with all these years, and he's got to continue to perform. Hopefully better than week 1 showing, but I have no problem believing that he can get it done and get back to his old ways now that we got week 1 out the way.
Oh, no, definitely. I mean, and it does help that first game was in Chicago in the nighttime early in the season. So he got probably the toughest matchup on his schedule out of the way first. So I'm guessing that's going to obviously pay dividends for Patty's Twins moving forward. Okay, we're going to have to switch gears a little bit. We're going to, address something that's been in the news for weeks and weeks. Your boy, AB. This guy is, first it was, chirotherapy, frozen feet. Next, it was a helmet grievance. After that, racial slurs were thrown at the general manager. Then the next day, he's mad about his money being voided. And then all of a sudden, he's released. Going into last week's matchup, he didn't even have a home until it was announced later in that day that he was going to the New England Patriots. Talk to us about the whirlwind it's been with AB. I mean, he's your guy. He carried you guys to Pantheon Cup 7. And he's been, Patty's Twin since the beginning. He's another ride or die of yours, and it looks like he's dying right now.
A slow death, certainly, but it'll pay off big in the end. I truly believe that.
Is that going to be for his rape accuser? Because I didn't even mention the sexual assault situation.
Well, as Pastor Mark put it, I believe in this God-fearing man.
Oh, goodness. Well, we'll see. Hopefully, Pastor Mark's prayers, extend to AB because the brother needs Jesus. Moving on, though, squad underestimated, who had a very impressive opening day, is your matchup in the prestige matchup of the week. 2 1-0 teams clashing for bragging rights in the Alpha and Omega conferences. Talk to us about squad underestimated in that upcoming matchup.
He had a good week 1 for sure, but I'm not worrying about him. If you pay attention to projections, he's got this winning out the bag by 12 points or so.
Right.
I'm not worried. I don't think McCaffrey's going to have the same kind of game. He's going to show up. Other guys can perform for him, but I'm not worried.
Okay. No, and I can see why. I mean, you got Austin Eckler, a guy who put up about the same point total as Christian McCaffrey, who's been an all-world beast this year. So, this matchup is setting up pretty well. If Aaron Rodgers does get back to his vintage self, you guys have a really, really good shot at that. So, I want to thank you for coming in on PPL Live. It was a great interview. You are my favorite owner in the PPL. The PPL's finest once again. Thank you, Patty, for the 5 good minutes on PPL Live.
All right. Take care.
And yes, that was 5 good minutes with Patty's Twins, the PPL's finest, getting off to a good start. leave no doubt player of the week is actually going to be a co-player of the week award this week. We're going to go with two teams from our upcoming prestige matchup of the week. I have Austin Eckler and Christian McCaffrey. Both guys were quintessential threats in the passing and running game, leading both their teams to victory. Segueing us into the prestige matchup of the week, we've got the Omega Conference's Patty's Twins taking on Pantheon Cup 10 finalists and Alpha Conference representatives, Squad Underestimated. And I have my boy, my partner in crime, my co-analyst, Ulysses S. Haight on the line. Ulysses, you heard that interview. Twins Underestimated. What do you think about this matchup?
I mean, it's prototypical Twins underestimating the squad.
Right.
But I loved it. I mean, I was really impressed with the Twins. You know, I'm known for hating. I didn't necessarily like seeing her score second best.
Right.
But hey, kudos.
Right.
I mean, and it's impressive. I mean, doing it without AB, I'm not so sure about her assessment that it is going to pay off. I'm going to be surprised if this guy keeps up all season.
Right.
It's looking less and less likely. I'm actually kind of surprised that the Patriots, I mean, with really nothing on the line here, and with the issue that that's bringing in, haven't cut him yet. But I think that's happening soon.
No, I think that Bill Belichick is trying to squeeze that orange dry. I think he's going to get every drop he can out of AB if he can get it. Now, I have heard that the NFL wants to put AB on that exempt list. So if he finds his way on that exempt list, yeah, New England's going to make that move.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, really impressed. I mean, with the Eckler draft pick, I mean, in hindsight, looking like a genius. Surprised that slid as far as it did, but hey, good on her. But I mean, my biggest critique was Aaron Rodgers.
Right. Right.
I mean, this guy, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Chicago Bears defense, one of the best in the league. This is Aaron Rodgers. He has his fun with the Bears when he wants. I think that we saw some cracks.
Okay.
In the offense, I think this is going to be a much different team under LaFleur than it was under McCarthy. And I think that she has one of the two right picks. I mean, she's ride or die with Aaron, but she sure is playing the defense he's playing this week. So I don't know what that tells you.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Squad on the other side, marquee win. I mean, it's always hard to beat the Argos. This guy did it opening week one. Bateman win really didn't make any mistakes. And, I mean, other than Brown, but, I mean, he's in the lineup this week. So
right.
I got the Squad going 130, 124, really kind of gapping out right now and establishing dominance. They can beat the two teams who hoisted the most Pantheon Cups combined.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at it, Big Ben's got to play better. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it a little too much. The Argonauts were marching on Monday night, and it was because Big Ben had left Squad Underestimated out to dry Sunday night. I mean, no TD passes. These guys only put up 3 points. That's just not the Big Ben that Squad Underestimated has come to expect. That Seattle defense is coming to town, so there could be some issues there. There was a joke made by Cam Newton earlier in the week that McCaffrey is on North Turner's fantasy football team. And, I mean, yeah, it looks like it underestimated. It looked like they wanted to call those plays because McCaffrey was getting touch after touch. On the other side, let's not forget about Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen had a heck of a game last week that really was a big part of that win. He stepped into the shoes that AB, vacated, putting up a 23 to be exact. That really helped put Patty's Twins over the top. So, I mean, they're really Charger dependent. I think the Chargers have a great matchup with Detroit. I think Detroit will open up at home, their offense. So the Chargers might have to chase them a little bit. I'm going to have to go with you. I mean, I look at across the other side. Josh Gordon looked great on Sunday night. Adam Thielen only caught 3 passes, but 1 was for a touchdown. I expect him to get more involved. And, of course, Marquise Hollywood Brown. I mean, the brother's speed. I mean, we were talking about his cousin AB. Marquise could be the next AB. I mean, this guy gets open deep like it's nobody's business. So I'm going to agree with you. I got Squad Underestimated winning this matchup 130 to 122. Moving on to our next matchup in the PPO, we go into the Alpha Conference. We have Only for the Boss taking on the Baby Gas team. All right, these are two chronic underachievers in the PPL squaring off. Both teams coming off of losses. Only for the Boss, an excruciating lost to the Skulls on Monday night, but it was one that was really fun to watch. The BGT, obviously, I mean, they got destroyed by the Mean Machine, which I called. No Trey Burton, and they just left him in the lineup, just very sloppy. What do you got on this matchup?
I mean, I think it was. I mean, it's why the boss isn't going to win the title this year.
Okay.
I mean, it is fan shit. I mean, and the non-Chiefs are the problem actually in this case. I mean, he's got. I mean, all these players on the number one team, but nobody behind them really.
Right.
Tarek Cohen, underwhelming game. Latavius Murray.
Latavius was solid.
Ridley.
Latavius was solid.
Latavius was solid, but I mean, Calvin Ridley.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't cracking in Atlanta at all.
Got you.
I mean, for all that Matt Ryan talk, I noticed Matt Ryan's not even in the lineup for the Baby Gas team.
Right.
Which is interesting given how poorly Cam did. But anyway, and I think the Hill injury is going to affect the boss. That being said, I mean, the Baby Gas team really did struggle last week. You did call it. Only team not to crack 100. I mean, and people were going off. So,
right.
I mean, the Melvin Gordon situation is really hurting this team.
Definitely.
And I'm not so sure about Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland kind of got exposed week one. And rolling with that head coach again, I think is kind of risky in this situation.
Yeah.
I think that the Jets could roll. And, I mean, the other side, I mean, there's some risk with that Saints coach against the Rams. But I think that really only for the boss, I think, will prevail just because, I mean, honestly, the Chiefs players he has are solid.
Right.
But for this one, I think that boss rolls, really. I think that they go 131, 110, right the ship. I think that BGT struggles until Melvin Gordon is on the field.
Okay. Disagree with you on this one because I love the backfield of the Baby Gas team. I'm looking at Mark Ingram, bro. I mean, he's on a team now that has Lamar Jackson as a legitimate threat to run and pass the ball. So it don't matter what running play you're gonna play. The running back's not the primary focus in that offense. I love Mark Ingram, especially against Arizona's defense. Obviously, Dalvin Cook, I'm 100% with you on that one. People are underrating Jacoby Brissett. He looked good against the Chargers, and I think T.Y. Hilton looked good. I think that T.Y. Hilton's not going to have as big a drop-off as we probably originally expected, so I like them there. I think Cam bounces back big. That Tampa Bay defense is garbage. And I think Sony Michel is going to get involved because New England's going to be up by so much. They're going to be running that clock. I mean, I guess we could say that about last week. But I think against Miami, they're not going to be in such a situation.
No, this team will dump on Miami. I don't know.
And I think Sony could be a big part of that is what I'm trying to say. I think that quiet last week, he's almost due for a big game. I mean, we talked about this guy all preseason, and I think that he does well. Obviously, like you said, there are a few moves on the coach and the D that need to be made. But even then, I like Justin Tucker. I just like the Baby Gas team a little bit more this week than, the usual suspects of only for the boss. I got the Baby Gas team winning this one 108 to 104. Moving on to our next matchup, we go into the Omega Conference. We got the new guys, the Skulls, coming off of a resounding Monday night victory, taking on the Omega Conference champions, their biggest challenge to date, the Gaff Attack.
Yeah, I mean, hell, the Skulls, they did great. I think that, they definitely got their money's worth with the Le'Veon Bell trade.
Definitely.
At least in week one.
20 points.
Yeah, I mean, it looked good. I do think, though, that the Skulls, I've got some questions around some of the other running backs, though. Devonta, Aaron Jones, I'm not so sold on that. I think that if there's anything on the Skulls right now that affects them in this week's lineup is just the lack of running back depth, really. I think that they have a stud in Le'Veon. I think we saw that. But
right.
I'm not so sure about Aaron Jones, and I think Devonta may be losing a step. But whenever I look at the Gaff, the Gaff got the win on Monday night with playing pretty. He didn't have a great week.
No, he didn't.
Guys were struggling, but he has all the pieces.
True.
I think the thing that I think is a mistake right now for the Gaff is to leave in Baker Mayfield. I think that I'm not saying that I wouldn't get rid of Baker. I think Baker's going to get there. The hype about Cleveland is there yet. they have all the right pieces. I think it'll come together.
Right.
I think that it'll come together within a few weeks. But, I mean, with the way that Phillip Rivers performed last week and that Detroit defense he's going to be facing, I think that Phillip Rivers could go off. And I think that, I mean, if I was the Gap, I would change up here just because, I mean, you put a lot of pressure on Baker Mayfield.
Well, when you pick him as high, like as I made the point last week, when you pick him that high, you got to play him. And the Gap made him the first quarterback off the board in the 2019 draft. He put some eggs in that basket, so it's kind of hard for him to kind of go back. But I kind of predicted that this may be an issue for Baker. That mouth, is gonna get guys pumped up. It just is going to happen. So I mean, he has that going into every single matchup. But I'm gonna.
He does. And I'm not saying this week, Monday night on the road. This is going to be the first time that this
No, I mean,
sexy look Cleveland team's going to be on national TV.
Definitely.
And I mean, Baker's known for it. And I mean, it shows a lot of guts here for the Gap. But I mean, I have Gap right now winning this one, 121 to 118. But I'm saying if Baker doesn't play, I don't think that the Gap wins this game. So. He's rolling with it, and we'll see.
At least see about that. I mean, let's talk about a guy who's already doing his thing, and I'm talking about Deshaun Watson. I mean, this dude ran for a touchdown, threw for 3 more, was just awesome out there. If this brother can cut down on the sacks, I mean, he's all world already, and he doesn't have to talk about it. He just goes out there and does it. And I think that's what gives the Skulls a really good shot in this matchup is the fact that he can go for 4 or 5 touchdowns and completely take over this matchup. Now, they do have Jacksonville, but it is a home opener, and I wasn't impressed with Jacksonville's defense last week. I hear you with Devonta and Aaron Jones. Where I will push back is that both guys were in matchups that were very, very defensive. Minnesota and Chicago showed up last week. I think that Devonta's going to be in the matchup against Philly. Their defense looked not very good against the Redskins of all teams. And then Aaron Jones, I mean, he is running into another tough defense. I think the jury is still out on him. I'm going to agree with you there. But going down the line, I think this matchup actually sets up very good for the Skulls. I'm looking at the Monday night matchup, and guess who he's got sitting there waiting on Baker Mayfield? Mr. Le'Veon Bell. So, I mean, scenario if Baker Mayfield did play bad and Le'Veon Bell played well, I mean, that could be the difference. So if they go into a Monday night pretty close, I like the Skulls, and I'm gonna call the upset here. I'm gonna got the Skulls winning 119 to 114. All right. Segueing us into our next matchup, we have the United Players, the Destroyers, taking on Appease the Gods.
Yeah, I mean, really impressive United Players.
Right.
And, ain't got nothing but love for Devion, but I clown on him all the time. I thought he had a great opener, probably the best opener in probably team history.
Well, no, he had that 200-point explosion on Patty's Twins with Peyton Manning.
That's true. We had
Yeah.
Forget about that.
Unforgettable.
But honestly, I was really impressed with Power. I was really impressed with Henry. And I think that the fact that he had that as close as he did, I mean, I had that as my lock of the week last week for Patty's Twins.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I thought that the United players really showed their own. I think that again, starting Tom Brady against Miami, James White, theoretically he could score big there.
Exactly.
Because I remember a few years ago, New England put up 60 points on Miami. He's got the defense. I mean, it could get ugly.
It's a 20-point spread.
I look across and I see Appease the God. I mean, Lamar Jackson. I mean, it looks like either guy he would have kept, Lamar or Carson, he'd have been fine.
Right.
Both guys were looking good. So I think Lamar, you have to love it. I think Sammy Watkins is a real surprise. I'd say outside of Eckler, Sammy Watkins was kind of a stunner. And I think that the way that the chemistry with him and Mahomes, that could be a big connection for the Gods, which is good because I'm not expecting Mike Evans to have a big season because I think Kevin May's going to struggle.
Okay.
So, the Gods lost a big one though. I think that they could have beat the Gap and put themselves in good position. I think now they're really staring at a 2-0 hole here. I think that they're going to have consistency. I mean, I think that they've got all the pieces here, but I mean, guys like Joe Mixon didn't show up. Hunter Henry's out.
Who you got?
And So right now I'm going with United Players
Okay.
111. I'm going ATG 103. I think the United Players get it done behind Tom.
Okay. I'm going to go the other way. Lamar Jackson showed me. I mean, I had to rewatch that game. This man was 17 for 20 with 5 touchdowns with 300 yards passing on 20 attempts. That's ridiculous. This guy hit 2 bombs. I know it's Miami, but it's still the National Football League. And Lamar Jackson looked like a completely different player. I mean, I saw guys not even wanting to rush this guy full on, giving him even more time to throw. I saw defensive ends kind of slowing down, waiting for him to make a move on him instead of rushing like they are taught to. So, sky's the limit for this kid. I think he's in a really good situation. I watched that Chris Carson. The brother runs hard. I mean, even on the play he fumbled, he's running hard. And the Seattle Seahawks are going to give him the ball over and over and over again. I love the top of the billing for ATG. Mike Evans is going to bounce back. They're in a divisional matchup against Carolina. This is a team that they know, that they're familiar with. I think Jameis bounces back tomorrow. Maybe not in a win, but statistically. And then obviously Edelman is probably the one saving grace on that Patriot blitz that ATG is going to get. And let's not even start with Sammy Watkins, who I expect to step into that number 1 slot as the number 1 receiver. I got ATG getting out of this one. I got them winning 121 to 119. I think it's going to be very close, but I think that ATG pulls it off. Moving on to our final matchup in the PPL, we have the Argonauts taking on the Mean Machine, one of the toughest rivalries in the Alpha Conference. What do you see in this one?
I was really impressed with Mean Machine. I mean, going out there and leading, no doubt.
Right.
I mean, it was impressive. I mean, again, just decisions paying off. I mean, got Carson Wentz I think at a good time.
A great pick.
Yeah, I think it's the Alvin Kamara time. I mean, I think that that game could really, for me, be a high-scoring game, like the New Orleans Rams game.
Right.
I expect that to be a shootout. I mean, a lot of controversy last time these teams played, so I expect that to be a really exciting matchup. The Bears could really stifle Denver. Other side, I mean, close watch with Argos. I mean, it's always surprising when they lose. Those divisional matchups have been so dominant lately.
Mm-hmm.
Jacobs is looking like a stud. I think this team's missing AJ.
Okay.
Just look at the wide receiver core, and I don't think, I mean, and maybe it's just that Atlanta team, but Julio didn't look as sharp. Aaron, again, Devontae, they really couldn't. Hard matchup. He's rolling the dice with Matt Bryant again, and Atlanta's kicker. That
pretty much cost them the matchup.
Right. I mean, and exactly. And I think it's going to be another intangible this week. I've got Mean Machine 143, 129, and I'll tell you why. I think that this is a really competitive game. For whatever reason, I'm kind of suspicious of that coach right there.
Okay.
And I think that there's easier picks you can go for that are just better locks at this point.
Right.
But I think that's the difference maker for me. Philly loses, and Argos lose the matchup in kind, 129 to 143. I got Mean Machine and Squad setting up to really change the guard in Alpha this year.
Right. I mean, and I mean, the talk is that the King is dead in that Monday night. That's normally a game the Argonauts somehow win, and that's a game normally somehow Squad Underestimated finds a way to lose. So I see what you mean with the changing of the guard, but I think that there is a last hurrah in these guys. The Argonauts do have the quarterback in that high-scoring matchup that you're predicting between the Saints and the Rams. I mean, if he decides to go Goff, he's going to do well. I think he decides to go Breeze, he's going to do well. So I think that they're okay here. Where I do agree with you is with Carson Wentz. I mean, this was a guy that was injured last year towards the end. The Argonauts lost patience with this guy and traded him. And now, he's sitting in the Mean Machines lineup. So that's what makes that very, very interesting. I love the Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas plays, obviously, against the Rams. And obviously, Odell Beckham Jr., he's a star. He likes to make big plays on Monday night. So I could definitely see that going down. Where I still look at the Argonauts' phalanx, and it's still strong. I mean, I'm looking at the tight end spot. I'm looking at the flex spot. I'm looking across the board. They're still pretty much the same team. I don't expect Devontae Adams to have another, 5-point game, and Julio Jones to go 6 catches for only 31 yards. So with that being said, I say the Argonauts somehow find a way to win this matchup. And I think it's a little more low scoring than you think it is. I think the Argonauts win 126 to the Mean Machines 124. Alrighty, and that's about it for us today. Geno the Gent and Ulysses S. Haight signing off.